Are you ready to unleash your full potential and become unstoppable in your success and leadership?
Welcome to the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast, where we provide powerful insights and strategies for coaches, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I'm Alexanne Carter.
And I'm Carol Register, and we're certified master neurocoaches who are passionate about helping you overcome your limiting beliefs and optimize your performance.
Each week, we'll be sharing actionable tips and strategies using neuroscience, from interviews with industry experts to solo episodes, to help you lead a life of power, purpose, and possibility on your own terms.
Join our community of like-minded individuals. Hit subscribe now, and let's be unleashed and unstoppable together. Hello, I'm so glad that you're here for the Unleashed and Unstoppable podcast today. Oh man, I am so excited. Lady Jen, I'm thrilled that you're here. Before we dive into who you are, what is one of your favorite things that you're doing in the world right now?
My favorite things and first of all, thank you for having me, Carol. There are things we're doing that aren't my favorite. And then there are things that are my favorite, right? To be doing.
And sometimes it's easier to think about what you don't want to discover
to
what
get
you
what
do
to what you want. I know. What I'm working on that is a fun thing is just, helping my clients in the Golden Mic, that particular program mine where I'm helping people monetize being on podcasts, etc. And the workshops around that. I just love doing them. And seeing the aha moments and the breakthroughs and things like that. So anytime I'm doing that, that's powerful. That's on the business side. On the personal side, every day is a fun day for me. So
I love that.
Yeah, every day is fun.
I think that's so important because we can get so caught up in what we're doing and forget all about living and joy.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk a lot about wealth identity on my Carol Register show. Here we talk a lot about the neuroscience of leadership, health, and wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And joy is a huge part of that, who cares if you have everything in the world and you've worked hard and hustled, but you haven't enjoyed life?
Yeah. It's interesting because, I talk about this all the time, and I know that I do, is, I have a motto in my practice, which is well, let me rephrase it, because I've been rephrasing it all day today. And I'm like, why am I having so many different ways of saying this? But, why just leave a legacy when you can live one? And, this is something that's super important for me. That we don't just work until, they used to call it 9 to 5 until you're 65. And, I think that entrepreneurs are working much longer hours. Some are, right, working much longer hours, and way past 65 now. We're all, thinking, hey, we could work till God knows. We've got 5 generations working together right now. So it's, it's an amazing time.
Wow.
And I don't know. It's just very interesting for that kind of thought process of saying, why can't we live the legacy while we're building it instead of waiting?
Right. And, I know that you are out there doing amazing things. You're a very dynamic leader, and you're transforming powerhouse businesses all the time into companies that run smoothly and without the need for daily intervention, right? And talk to us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, I mean, at the lowest denominator on that, I help businesses go from hands-on to hands-off. I mean, that's how simple, right, it is. But there are so many pieces that are in there. I've always said there's not a key to success. Maybe it's a key ring of keys where you're trying all the keys, but when you could say that. But I've always said, how do I crack the code? And that's, years ago when I was in the hustle, I wanted harmony in my life, but I was afraid to leave hustle because then I wouldn't make money. Right. And so it was one or the other. And I thought, well, what if I just go from hustle to harmony? And that was the ticket to it, but I needed to crack the code. And it was, what I realized is that we all have our own code.
Yeah.
And if we try to follow any specific guru, any specific coach, and say, follow my method because my method proved for me, so it's going to prove for you. And to a certain
Yeah.
extent, it does, but it's a code. We all come in with different DNA, with different experiences, with different wisdom. And sometimes we have to turn that combination all the way around for someone. Someone else just has to make a little adjustment. So
Yeah.
this is why it's so important, I think, for people to understand,
Mhm.
um, that going from a practitioner to being a full-fledged CEO. I just think a lot of people have the title CEO in their practices, but
Yeah.
they aren't acting like it. They're acting like the practitioner, and I'm helping them move along.
I love that. I love the phrases that you use that really capture us, such as you just mentioned, and one that I have been using because we talk here about limiting beliefs is limiting beliefs into lifting beliefs.
Yes, you like that one.
It's
Yeah.
such a powerful
Yeah.
phrase, right? Because
Yes.
it's that process that you take people through. And I know
Right.
you're known as a team building and a scaling architect,
Mhm.
and that you have been in finance with over 400 million in revenue for
Mhm.
over 40 years. Will you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I retired 10 years ago, right? In fact, we just passed May 22nd was my 10-year anniversary where I retired. And,
Yeah.
I knew that there was more. And I think as a woman, we've especially in financial services, it's so male dominated. I remember I was always the token woman for everything. And, I'm thankful that I never had any sexual harassment or anything like that. I was overlooked one time and I taught them their lesson, and I won't go to that. Taught them their lesson.
Yeah, I like the way you said that
Yeah, I
because
taught them their lesson. Yeah.
yeah.
And so I forgot the question now. What was that? Oh my
Well,
gosh, because I'm thinking,
basically,
what did I do to them?
right. It
Right?
was leaning into talking about the fact that you've
Oh, the
had 40,
finance. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
40 years in finance and you've built this
Yeah.
incredible $500 million revenue, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, not 500,000,
Half
half a
billion,
billion, right? Half a
half a
billion.
billion. Yeah.
Yeah, half a
Yeah.
billion. And
Yeah.
as I look back on that, it's it's all the work, and my age group, it's all the work that we did to pave the way for so many,
Yeah.
ladies now. And when I retired 10 years ago, I knew I wasn't done. I was too young to not work. I was too, too ambitious to sit on the sidelines. And I said, I want to do something else, but I don't want to be a stay-at-home grandma who babysits her kids. And I can't do that. I never could anyway.
Yeah.
Love them, but no. And then, and then the other part of it was, I had more to give out in the world as it relates to this hustle to harmony, that I struggled so many years to figure it out, that I said, okay, now I've figured out the code, but I figured out the elements of the code, but some people have different elements, over others.
Right.
And I didn't want to go be somebody's secretary. I can't imagine. I mean, do we even use those words anymore? Like
No.
someone's assistant,
No.
right? Someone's executive assistant. There would be no way that I would do that. And that time, really helped me. Someone just recently called me the velvet hammer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Allowed for me to, be that soft sided. This is a sovereign leadership, that soft
Yeah.
sided, but still at the same time have the gumption to run a real good business.
Right, right. And, I think that's super powerful. Where do you think you learned how to step into your power? Before I ask you that, I just want to mention that not only are you a lady, but you are a Dame Commander due
Mhm.
to all of the things that you do in the world, including philanthropy and the volunteer work and the give back that you participate in. So, when you are talking about the things that you are doing, where do you think you gained that power to be the velvet hammer?
Yeah.
That's,
So
I
I said
love
that
that name.
I know
I
I
love
like
it.
it too, but someone
Yeah.
said to me, they're like, I don't know if I like it on you, Lady Jen.
Yeah, I like
But
it.
I'm like, okay, but it kind of is me. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, when you first ask the question and then you put all the story
About
behind,
about
yeah,
being a
and now it
lady.
changes my answer, right? A little bit,
Okay.
changes my answer a little bit. For me, it's always been an inside job. It's always been me taking care of myself because my family just didn't take care of me, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I had a roof over my head and that kind of stuff, but I was an only child and they were worried about themselves and not me. And I just had to learn to I say scrimp and save and do all those things on my own, but it's just I don't want to make sure that I'm not giving my mom and dad upstairs, right? They took care of me, but I was so independent and I was so alone and I had so much armor on me. And I just learned to stand up for myself and keep moving forward and know that I had the power within me to do everything. But later, something that I realized, on this transition from hustle to harmony is that hustle for me, and I still describe it this way, is the intellect, our knowledge, what we know, IQ, right? It's
Yeah.
not just, oh, I know a lot, so I'm just going to do a lot. It's that we have this knowledge on how our business should run. So we, play in that
Yeah.
those task oriented things all day long. And so I knew it was, I called it mechanics, the mechanics of the business. And then I realized I needed to have a mindset in order to create momentum.
Right.
The mindset came from learning about emotional quotients
Mm.
and EQ, right? And I realized that, I have this very superior IQ
Mhm.
and it kept me in that superiority kind of complex
Yeah.
that I just can handle myself and I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But then when I realized that this emotional quotient, at first I was like, oh, emotions, motion. I don't want to deal with all that. But what I realized is it was a leadership ability, right? It was something that could create that momentum and create me to be unstoppable in anything that I did. And but I also learned that it was a learned skill. It wasn't something we're born with.
Mhm.
We have to learn it.
Yeah.
And that combination of those two is when I really stepped into my own and stepped into not letting people pull the wool over my eyes. Now, look, and I'm still a little naive. I'll be honest, right?
Yeah.
I still give it have we all do,
Well,
right?
I
But it's like,
mean,
oh, that great
tricksters,
program,
yeah, they tricksters trick, right?
right? And we still do that, but I now, my emphasis, with the mechanics was on me. And
Yeah.
when I introduced EQ, then the combination, I realized that my emphasis could be on everyone else, and I could still feel good about myself, and it didn't have to be associated with money, although it came. And I realized that if I chase the impact instead of chasing money, I chase the impact, the money will come.
Yeah.
And that's when I started doing all kinds of charity work, and
Mhm.
not because I go, oh, if I chase the impact, the money will come. It wasn't that. It was just, I was starting to gain that knowledge of, hey, there are other people around me and they're struggling and maybe I can help them and maybe they can help me too in an area that I'm struggling if I'm vulnerable enough to accept it. And that's when everything went through the roof in a good, positive way for me.
I love it so much. And you address something that's really foundational to what we talk about here, and that is that over 90% of our limiting beliefs, they say, are programmed in by the age of 8. And while
Mm-hmm.
your parents were taking care of you, they had their own issues that they didn't have the tools for. So, you were
Mm-hmm.
hearing stories that may have contributed to poverty and scarcity, depending on what your
Absolutely.
background was, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All my mom kept talking about was we can't afford it. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. We don't have enough money. We can't afford it. We
And
can't
you're
afford it. And that's
absorbing.
all, and listen, and I've gone through these and we all, even when we have breakthroughs and we think we've worked through something, we have moments that we still step back in. It's no,
Yeah,
I don't believe it, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe it's never gone. I think
right.
you have moments of it. And what I realized through that is because they weren't as successful and I was told I wouldn't be as successful, I was going to prove everybody wrong. And
Hmm.
so I excelled and I can make money like nobody's
Yeah,
business, but then I couldn't keep it.
yeah,
It was spent before I had it
Yeah.
because I we don't have any money. We can't afford it.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just like, if I can spend it before it's made, it'll, then I'll just even out and it'll be okay. And sometimes find myself experiencing that. Right.
Right.
But, but I had to learn and I did. And I've,
Well,
been able to
you're
succeed
right.
in it.
We have 2 million miles or more of neural networks. So, but here's the cool thing. So, in the work of changing your mind, and changing limiting beliefs to lifting beliefs, the cool thing is it's like gratitude. It literally changes the structure and the function of the brain.
Yeah.
And the nice part of that, and really it's a whole body system, it's by mind, body, spirit, because our subconscious actually goes into our body and some of our neurotransmitters are made in our gut. And the reason I bring this up is because um, you're right. There may be old neural networks as you continue to grow and up level and move forward in greater impact. And the impact you've had is amazing. 8,000 people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, as that happens, we run into those old networks, but know that the work of changing your mind is literally compounding and changing
Right.
the
Right.
structure and function of your brain, which how cool is that? Because
Yeah.
like
I
how
love
can
it.
we overcome 2 million neural networks? We can't,
Right. Oh,
right?
I know. It's almost impossible. And
Yeah,
this is where the repetition comes in and also
yeah,
the increased awareness. And for
yeah.
me, that's where I found it in studying emotional quotient. And really, I started studying it not really because like I feel like I need to be smart in another area or be knowledgeable in another area. It was being a woman in the industry I was in, it was how do I control this emotion that and I feel like maybe they had some impact on it too, because they were like, don't get emotional about it, just tell us. And I was
Right.
like, I wasn't getting emotional, but now maybe I am. I am. And so
Yeah,
you're just, and sometimes emotion isn't crying for women. Sometimes it's just,
yeah,
getting emotional. And I just had to learn how to control that, how to put some barriers and boundaries around it,
yeah.
so that I could lead with just the facts, ma'am. And that's how I showed them and taught them that lesson was just the facts, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, so yeah, sometimes that creeps in, just from work too. So it's not always just children, but just some ways that you got into the workforce and what you saw and how you wanted to, Darren Hardy always says, well, and I'm not going to paraphrase him, but I remember this from Darren that he said, something about that we need to, be the person that we want that job for, that we want to,
Right.
act like that person and look at the characteristics of other people that we want to be like and start putting drifting those neurons right in so that they
Yeah.
start taking hold and looking. And that was a lot of it too, is just who do I want to model and modify,
And who are you? Like remembering your intrinsic value and operating from that place
right.
by
Mm-hmm.
being who we see ourselves. It really does depend on how we see ourselves because
Yeah.
we often are confusing imagination and reality. And we think,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is my current circumstances, this is reality, but your reality is a reflection of what you have been imagining.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's kind of like your future is a series of nows, the way that you're
Yeah,
conducting and holding yourself now, both emotionally, physically,
yeah,
right? And in work will depict what your future is going to be. So, the awareness for me, I think, is a big overall, overwhelming or
yeah.
overall arching thought is that, being aware, and that's what emotional intelligence is, and and now we have agility quotient that we need to contend with in today's world because everything's moving so quickly. We need to be able to shift and turn and accept and go
Yeah.
with it and analyze it and still be aware.
Right.
Right.
That's so true. And you brought up something else that I just heard a phrase for this, like when we have a high IQ or when we're high achievers and we've achieved certain success, then ego plays a part and ego is edging God out. And I really
Yeah.
like that. right?
Yeah, I know. Who said that? Somebody said that at
Um,
Secret Knock.
I'm
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to remember
Yeah,
who
I know
said
who it
that.
is. I know who
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, he talks about that ego, and that was part of that transformation years ago. I didn't know anything about edging God out because I would never try to do that. But yeah, sometimes we chase money and that becomes our God,
I
right?
know.
When the ego's there. But I
Yeah.
remember years ago, not even being in personal development and coaching and all that, is that, I was never going to be ego. I wanted to be we go. And,
What,
you
say
know,
that
I
again?
I didn't want to be ego. I wanted to be we go.
We go. Oh, I
We
love
go.
that. Okay.
And that again is emotional intelligence. And that's
Yeah.
what started elevating me up in corporate, right? In the corporate world, is that I had a we go mentality.
Yeah.
And that only came from learning and experiencing what emotional quotient is and how to manifest that and work on it. And that elevated me up there. And then that just manifested even further and took off. And now it's just part of my DNA.
Mark, I really appreciate what you said about impact as well, that you started
Hmm.
focusing on impact rather than on funds and money
Hmm.
coming in.
Hmm.
And money is a measurement of the value we put in the marketplace. So when we focus on impact, we're focusing that service
Hmm.
is what is just a universal wealth law. It is naturally rewarded. And you literally got to take your focus off that and
Hmm.
leaned into the power of receiving and also no
Right,
longer
right.
being a lone wolf and feeling like you had to do it alone.
Yeah.
When did that shift for you?
Um, yeah, I'm going to I'll tell you a story about when I spoke to a women's group one time, because that's when that shift happened. But you were just saying about, what were you just saying? Because there was,
About the reward of focusing on impact rather than on the
right.
funds.
Hmm. Yeah, I was going to say something, but I can't remember. I'm
Shoot.
so sorry. So if you're watching this, you'll know that I'm 62 and I have brain fog, right? It's like a menopausal brain fog because
Well,
there's so much I want to say,
I
right?
may have fire
I
hosed
know
you.
so much of it. I was asked to speak so I was really in that hustle, right? And wearing the armor and everything. And I was asked to speak at this women's organization one time. They said, you're really known and, an influencer in the community. You're helping people. You're doing all these things. Would you speak at this event? And I said, sure. And they said, we'd like for you to tell your story. And I was like, oh, well, let me think about it. And then I finally said, I'll tell it, but I'm not going to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I'm not going to do that, right? But as I'm writing the my story out and kind of putting some
Yeah.
framework together, I'm getting emotional and I'm crying and I'm like, gosh, these things have really
Yeah.
impacted me, and it was so helpful to write it all out. And I realized, no, I am going to tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But I was scared, Carol. I was so scared because I thought, if they see me in a different light, what are they going to think of me? They're going to think that I've been a liar all this time because I didn't say
Yeah.
anything. It wasn't, outright lying. It was just not giving up the details, right?
Yeah.
Having that armor. And so I got up there and they said, oh, by the way, you're going to have a podium. I said, ooh, do I have to? Can't you just have a thing? No, we just have one speaker. It's a podium. And I don't ever use podiums. And I've used it once before. That's
Yeah.
that one time at the National Press Club. And I was like, I'm happy to use the podium. This is cool. But it became my second layer of armor,
Mhm.
right? Because as I was releasing some of these things that I never shared with anyone,
Wow.
I still had the podium to protect me, right?
Wow.
And so I thought, well, I'm just poking holes in my armor, giving my story up. And as I'm walking off stage, people coming up, oh my gosh, and people were crying, and men and women, because I invited everybody. And, that's my story. That was me too. I can't believe it. Why have you never said anything? Da da da.
Wow.
And, it was, and I didn't respond to that. I just said, to myself as, wow, let me get this straight. So if I poke holes in my armor, because I wasn't taking it off yet,
Yeah.
I was poking holes in my armor and allows light to shine through, that could be attractive to people.
Wow.
And I didn't see it that way before then. And so, oh, I know what you said, receiving, right?
Yeah.
Getting to a point where you can receive. I thought I was like, gimme, gimme, gimme,
Yeah.
gimme, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't have the armor off to receive. There was a barrier. There was always a barrier to receiving.
Yeah.
And once I realized that, I was like, okay, I can do this again. I can poke some more holes. And then someone said, hey, you spoke here. Will you do that same thing there? Yeah, absolutely. Poke, 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 poke.
I
Right. And
love
then I
that.
started sharing it, and then eventually it just fell apart because it fell off. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really amazing for me because I'm like, I don't understand why I'm not getting referrals. I don't understand why people are helping me. I'm helping them. How come they're not helping me? And I wasn't in a receiving mode.
Right, right. Oh, I got chills. It's so powerful. I really, and the poking holes idea, I love that because it speaks into taking the baby step
Hmm.
of, just starting the process of sharing
Yeah.
your story and your vulnerability. People recognize the courage it took for you to do that, and they
Mhm.
responded, you're speaking my story. They related.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's so funny the way you say that people received it though, right? They're receiving it, and I was on the other side going, I'm so
yeah,
afraid, right? And
yeah,
just the fear factor of doing that. And I think that we see this in a lot of our situations. We're afraid to talk about finance, we're afraid to talk about
yeah,
relationships, those types of things. So it wasn't just in what I was experiencing in work, but who we are, and
right.
yeah, letting it in.
Letting people in, letting them
Hmm.
see, the difficult pieces,
Hmm.
and the trials and the obstacles, right? I
Right.
think and, and that baby step idea, that really
Hmm.
resonates with me because a lot of times people like myself who have been through big T trauma, that, the biggest protection factor is hiding. We want to
Yeah.
hide.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely. Shame. It's all
right.
shame. Yeah,
Um,
embarrassment.
I
Hmm.
think it was up in 6 years ago was the first time I had ever been on social media because I came from a world of people that hire internet scrubbers, and you don't
Oh
do
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that I was like, no, I don't want to live in fear. I want to impact lives. I want to help
Hmm.
people. So the way that you put that is so encouraging and inspiring. Just poke holes in it. Just
Yeah,
take a
just
step,
poke
right?
holes in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was funny because, after I did that, I noticed it with some of my clients. And I said, oh, okay. So I may have to do some of this work with my clients, right? And today I do some of this work, but if it's major, I source it out because I'm not an expert. But I saw that with another client. She was and I dare I say ice nowadays, geez. But
Yeah.
she was an ICE agent, and this was like 15 years ago. She was an ICE agent, and I thought, oh, she's rough and tough, and as a woman, and in military or department, whatever it is, and rough and tough. And she's like, I'm saying all this stuff, I'm doing all the things, and I go, but you're not. It's not breaking through. You're not poking holes
Yeah.
in your armor. And she said, what are you talking about? So I found out she had a 21-year-old daughter with Down syndrome, and she's never told anybody about it. That was her shame. That was her
Wow.
protection. And
Yeah.
I said, well, do you feel comfortable? Let's get her on camera. Let's start having you show
Wow.
her going to school, and you picking her up from school, and let her talk and you talk, and boom, everything blossomed for her. She was a real estate agent, right? Everything blossomed for her. Everyone's like, now we know who you are,
Mm-hmm.
truly, not
Yeah.
what you do, but who you are, and we want to support that.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. I love that story. All this time of carrying shame. We carry such shame and
Ah,
guilt
yeah.
where we don't need to. It's not even our baggage half the time that we're carrying
And you
around.
know what? Nobody cares about the baggage you're carrying, right? It's like
Right.
nobody cares because they're all worried about their own baggage.
Yeah,
It's like,
true.
right? They don't care about all the other stuff.
It's
Yeah.
true. And, speaking into that, though, I think one of the things that can get in our ways is feeling like we've experienced lack of trust. And so then we operate from past experience, feeling like we can't trust others, maybe because of, a scam or even abuse. And
Mhm.
so, how do we start to open up trust again?
Oh, I wish I knew the answer to that because I'm not that kind of a coach, right?
Yeah.
I'm just not that kind of a
Well,
coach. So this would be my opinion. I'm giving my declaration here. This would be my opinion or my perspective. Um, again, I'm going to say it's baby steps. We used to say, in relationship building that every interaction with someone, you were either withdrawing or depositing into the trust account.
yeah.
So I'm acutely aware of that, is in that everything that happens in a relationship, I'm saying, is that a positive or is that a negative? It's a positive, because I want to always stay on the positive side. So from my
Yeah.
perspective, I would say that, it's just looking at it in a different way to say, wait a minute, was that a deposit or withdrawal?
Wow.
And was it really because am I playing victim and not
Yeah.
victor? Right.
Yeah.
And so maybe my knee jerk reaction is, well, they did that to me. But if I look in retrospect and I have a methodology of how to, record it, journal it, whatever the case may be, or I have some methodology of, 3 steps or 2 steps, and saying,
Yeah.
stop, for me, I would probably say stop. And this goes back to emotional intelligence. Stop, revisit, rethink it. What was said? What did I hear? How did it impact me? And is that a withdrawal or deposit? When in fact it could be a deposit. It's just that child comes in and says, but I'm a victim, and you hurt me. No, really, they didn't. I just have to learn how to accept it in different ways than I've been used to.
Wow. It's so incredibly powerful. And I think that's a question that I haven't really posed. I've heard that before, but I think the way that you have embraced this and applying it is really powerful. And I would add to it, I think it has to do with when we start to realize our own value and worth and start to trust ourselves, we attract trustworthy energy to ourselves,
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and we start
Hmm.
to be in communities of people where our house is being built on this great foundation. Um,
Hmm.
and so starting to ask ourselves, is this a deposit or a withdrawal, can be so incredibly helpful because exactly like you said, it may at first appear to be a withdrawal, but when we ask the question, it breaks the pattern and we can go, oh, no, that's
Right.
that's their issue, or that's
Yeah.
really something where I
Hmm.
know they mean the best for me, but it's just maybe the application is not so smooth.
Right. Right. And well, again, it's going to go back to the velvet hammer.
Yeah.
Right. For me,
What
apparently.
what's a great way
Oh my God,
to
it's
apply
amazing.
that phrase, because velvet is soft
And
and
hammer,
hammer
yeah.
is
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
So um
I don't know. It'll be very interesting how this, kind of comes out. And I don't know why I keep going back to it, because it did
yeah,
resonate with me. And I said, yeah, this is me. And I started looking at a lot of testimonials, verbal and, and written testimonials. And a lot of my clients were saying, the one thing that you're going to love about Jen is that she's going to be, some people said hard on you, right? She's going to be
yeah,
hard on you, or she's going to tell you the truth. She's not going to sugarcoat it. She's not going to
yeah,
do that. But no matter what words they use, the comma was, but know that it comes from her heart, right?
yeah,
And that's truly what it is.
yeah. It's a
Do you want me to be
deposit.
truthful or do you want me to fake it? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know. If you're paying me to coach you, do you want me to lie or do you want me to tell you how it is? And
yeah,
then I'm doing it so that, with the best intent. But yeah,
yeah.
it'll be interesting how that comes out. But it really felt, and there's a reason why I like the hammer. Uh, my dad was a carpenter.
Mm,
So I'm going, okay, that's a good thing. And so
yeah.
something's there, some kind of connection is there, and I'll take it.
I
I'll
think a
take it.
hammer can also apply to being able to
Build.
lean into our own self-care, our own filling up our cup, putting our
Hmm.
oxygen mask on first, because a hammer can imply setting appropriate boundaries as well.
Well, and I think also building,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yeah,
building, right? And so it's not necessarily a mean hammer. It's just it's a building hammer, right?
right.
And yeah, we'll see how that comes out, because it's pretty interesting. It does fit me to a T though.
It really does. Will you lean into really the webinars that you do, the master classes, workshops, I should say, and you do some things that are so unique out there, which I absolutely love
What
in
is it? What
the
do I do?
interactions that
The
you,
business circles? Are you talking about?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
you
Yeah,
even I think it was I can't remember. I believe it was a summit that you sent out, and uh, it was so appealing because it was like inviting me to participate in a
right.
different way, right?
Yeah, I can't remember that, but I'm thinking business circle, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I mean, the first thing is, yeah, I do have a master class, and it's for the golden mic, where we help people monetize their podcast, create a business, a revenue stream for them. And so we want to have fun on the podcast, but we want to realize that we want to do this for a very specific reason, and that's to either attract clients or have a relationship with the host, which we already have, right?
right.
And we'll continue to have.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's the only place I do master classes. My clients are pretty established, high level kind of clients, and then we have some middle of the row kind of clients if they're not quite ready to take the full. They dip their toe in and some things. But all of my workshops and all of my retreats are for those clients.
yeah,
Yeah, so I've made it very exclusive, very coveted. I think that we're in this world right now
yeah,
of experiential, right? As you do in Chile, it's having that experience and feeling like this is something special. This
yeah,
is something I've arrived, as opposed to, hey, I'm having this thing and everybody pays $179, but I'm going to cross off it'll be free. It'll be free for everybody, right? I think that there's some power in knowing that not everyone is getting access.
yeah,
Um, and it's not my power. It's not like, I'm not saying that. It's saying I have coaches that do it too, and so there's this power for me in knowing that, hey, not everybody's going to learn what he's going to teach me or she's going to teach me. And
right. It's
so the
something.
work, yeah,
Yeah, my high level group is private invite, as are the retreats. It's a
right,
qualification process because we
yes,
only do six
everything
a
is,
year, right?
yeah. And
So,
everything is that with me because I want to make sure that I think, a dear friend of yours and mine has made this quote before, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I'm not great at getting them all right, but that expectations without agreement creates, and I say blank. She uses a specific word, but
yeah,
if we have expectations without the agreement of it,
yeah,
it creates frustration, dissension, anger, revenge, you name it, right?
right.
I already said frustration, but it could create all these things. So
Yeah,
just like
because the
you,
expectations here and the agreements here,
yeah,
everything's
we don't,
off.
everything's just off. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so just like you, I do application process even for the golden mic, which is, just a small $5,000 program. I still do the application process because the expectation is that I'm going to help them create a revenue stream right
yeah,
there.
yeah,
But I can't help them create that revenue stream if they're not action takers, if they don't
right,
have the bandwidth, if they don't have, and I've turned people away just because they're in 5 different other people's programs that have calls and meetings all the time. And I said, okay, it's all about consumption, but when are we going to start, putting
right.
things into play? And that I think makes a difference in what um, how we coach, how you coach, the
Yeah,
perception of exclusivity, and not because I have a power play, but because I savor my reputation. I
yeah,
want people to succeed. I don't want someone coming out of a program of mine and saying, "Well, that was all funny stuff,"
yeah,
because I didn't take the action, right? And they're doing all this thumb pointing. It was their fault, and they should be doing
yeah.
thumb pointing here. So yeah,
I
and
agree
that's
with
why I
that.
do that.
I think it's a thing where we want the people that work with us to be set up for success.
Mhm.
And by going through this process, then you know that it's a good fit and they've got the tools to succeed in your program and the ability to do it because I've done the pro bono work and I've appreciated it and will still do it from time to time with, for example, with women who are in a shelter or,
Right.
have been through a tremendous amount of abuse. But it's really important there to understand that it takes a lot more hand holding because they don't have that same setup, right?
Drive or something. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Desire, there's a lot of pieces. Yeah. I've
yeah,
always believed that. Well, I haven't always believed after I got out of hustle and got into harmony, right? I then believed that, we have to slow down so we can speed up instead of speeding up to slow down.
yeah,
And so when jump into a program and you jump into this and somebody's like, jump, 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 got in the program and then everything slows down and you don't get the results.
yeah.
That's not how I run. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because what we focus on grows, and one of our brains, our I will say our mind, body, spirit. I'm using that phraseology more because it really is an integrated system. Is
Yeah.
that distraction is a form of safety.
Yes.
Distraction will keep us from the growth. It'll keep us back in the familiar, which our system sees as safety. So I
Right.
think that's a really important thing to point out with what you're doing because you're bringing people in where they can really stay focused and actually live into their highest potential.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on all of that because it is again, sometimes we struggle with that when we're going to the distractions and the safety. It goes back to childhood or something else, right? That says I'm not worthy.
Yeah,
So I'll
yeah,
just stay safe because
right.
I've heard this years and years that so many people are afraid of success,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And they're like, oh, it could be for some
I've
people, it could be, oh, God doesn't
been
want you to be
guilty.
successful. And I'm
Yeah.
going, oh no, I can give you all kinds of quotes, right? All kinds of verses in the Bible.
Yeah.
No, God wants us to be successful, but you have to work through that to really recognize and understand it and becomes that aha moment for you.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I really believe that us living into our highest and best selves and best potential is the best way to give God the glory. And I think about my own children. I don't look at
Mhm.
them and go, just really don't want you to stay small. No, I
Right. Oh
don't.
no, we
Right.
always want better, right? We always want
Right.
better. Yeah.
Better.
Well, there
Um,
was a time, I'll be honest, there was a time when my kids were doing really well and I was jealous because they were doing
wow.
so well because they did so well from the very beginning,
Wow. Wow.
right? And I'm thinking, and I had to go to confession. I'm Catholic, so I had to go to confession about that. But
Yeah.
I was jealous because they were doing so well at their age. And when I was at that age, I was in the hustle. I
Yeah.
was in that struggle and I was, trying to please everybody, be people pleaser and run myself ragged and run myself tired and
Yeah.
all of that. And there was a certain amount of jealousy and envy that wow, they got to get to that faster. I wish that would have happened for me.
You
And then I
raised them
realized
right.
I raised them. That's why they have it. Yeah. I
Right.
realized,
I
wait a
think
minute,
when
hold
you
on.
take
I'm
it
proud of this. Yeah.
a step
Yeah.
back, yeah, and realize that, you're like,
but
oh,
there
yeah,
but there again is that victim thing, where if we're not stepping back and we're looking at it, we're saying, oh, and that could circle the drain for you, like they're just
yeah,
more successful for me, what's wrong with me? Or you can go, wait a minute, hold on, that was a deposit, not a withdrawal,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that. That's super powerful, because we do want our kids to succeed, but being aware that something like that can pop up and then having the tools like you just gave to be able to deal with that is
Yeah.
incredibly powerful. Um, And before we wrap up here, you are a multiple author. You also have multiple shows yourself. I'd love to hear more about your books right now and your shows.
Yeah, well, my focus right now, in two books, right? But my focus right now, we just well, I was part of another book that just got released last week and went number one. So I
Survival
believe,
to thrival,
yes, I
right?
believe that took me to 32 or 33 books that I've been part of in some way, shape,
Wow.
or form, writing the foreword, writing a testimonial, being an author. But yeah, I have four, and we're about ready to. Well, we're trying to cross the finish line on the
Yes.
third in a trilogy called Impact, and this is an acronym book. We have four more spots left, and we're
I'm in and
um,
I have an acronym for you.
yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. And so it's really great and exciting to, just get through the finish line of that and get that out. But
Yeah.
the word impact is inspiring, motivational, powerful acronyms for cognitive thinking. And
Wow.
so the idea is that this is more of an affirmation book. Someone said the other day when we were releasing, don't make it a bathroom book. And I'm like, no, it's not a bathroom book. This is an affirmation book, where, how sometimes, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if everybody goes to church or reads the Bible or whatever, but, I get into church and I look at my husband and I go, how did he know? How did he know I needed this today? I didn't even know I needed it, but I sure needed it. Right. And so you open it up, and I know Soup for the Soul is a lot like that too, where I would open it up and go, wow, I needed that today. So
Yeah.
that's going to be the best thing about reading this book, because they're funny, they're poignant, they're business oriented. Some are words, some are formulas,
Yeah.
some aren't words. But I'm really excited about releasing that book, and we'll hope to release that in August, and then mid to late August. And then once that's done, I will focus on my, hopefully, I believe it will be my final book. It'll be the tip of the spear for my life's work, and
Wow.
it'll be where I am today in my leadership, versus my first book was called Launch: How to Take Your Business to New Heights.
Mhm.
This will be, I made it, I've arrived, now what? You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so powerful. That's going to be exciting to experience. And
Me too. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're,
yeah, I
haven't
can
figured it
just
out yet.
think about the process of
Yeah.
going through that journey of writing this book and just, I hold you high for that. I mean, that's going to be something that's going to be revealing and exciting and take
Well, and it's
courage.
not going to be a memoir. I just want to make sure everybody knows that it's not that. I
Yeah.
might be a parable, right, of lessons learned and that type
Mm.
of thing, and it might
Yeah.
not. I'm not. We just don't know where we're heading with this, but
Yeah.
I do know I want something more. Uh, I don't want to say elevated, more sophisticated, more in line with where I am now as a consultant, and who I coach, so that
Yeah.
they can pick that book up instead of just the novice, business
Mm.
owners. So yeah.
Yeah. And you've been podcasting for over 15 years, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It's
15 years.
incredible.
Yeah. January 1st was 15 years for Mortgage Lending Mastery. And I'm still
Wow.
publishing that one. I still coach in that area because that was where I was for 40 years.
Yeah.
So I still love coaching there. To me, it's all business, doesn't matter what it
Yeah.
is, but coaching there. And then we have Success to Significance: Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, all those breakthroughs
Yeah.
that we just talked about. And then Business on the Vine, which you've been a guest on the show, and that's our TV show, and then we repurpose it as a podcast, so we get across several mediums for our guests.
I
And
think that's such a great way to do it. I
yeah,
also like the fact that with all of one of the ways you're a connector and makes things participatory that I hadn't experienced with any of the other shows I had been on is that all the people of your shows you bring together and create groups for for
yeah,
those of us who have been a part of being on
yeah.
one of your shows.
Well, I think part of it, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I love being in anthropology books, is because I meet new people. And then that's another, we have this tie together.
Yeah,
And sometimes we all overlap, right? You and I've been in a bunch of books together, and we overlap, but it's good to rekindle the relationships. It's good to keep the relationships going. And, I love developing these new relationships where they're fit, where they fit.
right.
And yeah, so I love bringing people together and just saying, hey, let's have a get together. We'll figure out, things together. And I mean, if I'm being honest, some of it's that I'm getting older and I'm getting a little more lazy, right? Where I don't want to type out, right now I have 72 connections and referrals and all
Yeah.
that introductions sitting in my draft, and I've got to get through them. And it's
Yeah.
just a lot easier to say, can all of you hop on a call and let me tell you who you need to talk to, right?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
that's part of it too. But then it brings the introduction to life, and I
Yeah.
think that's special.
I think it's efficient and effective.
Hmm.
For your groups, can people jump in anytime? Are they ongoing, or do you have like a set start date and end date?
Oh, you mean for coaching? The coaching?
Yeah.
Nope, everything's open enrollment.
Okay.
Everything is everything, every
So
single
it's
one. It's
always,
always going. Yeah. And eventually they'll get to the stuff, and I do roadmaps with everyone. And depending on the length of the coaching, I do roadmaps every 4 months. I find that people aren't able to necessarily accomplish the results that they want in three, because
uh, yeah,
you have that first month of putting it together, and
yeah,
hopefully people are taking that time, and then the second month of doing the concentration, so we have the formulation and then the concentration, and then we start getting momentum in a certain areas, but now we need to do some adjustments. And so by the time we make the adjustments, the third month is over and we don't have the results yet, which
right.
is why the fourth month allows for that. So I do roadmaps with people to
Mhm.
ensure that I know what they're working on in their practice, so that as we're going through something and someone's, in month 4 and someone else just starts and someone's at month 12, we're revisiting
Yeah,
those pieces for everyone, because everyone learns from them, especially in the group, you know
yeah.
in the group. But private's private. If they need help now, we get help now, we start working on it
Mhm.
now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I've never been one of those, oh, I have an 8-week program and everyone says, well, when does the next one start? Maybe I'll get into it. I go, look, if you want in, come on in now, let's do it.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get the results. Why wait?
Let's go. Why wait?
Yeah, why wait?
Yeah.
And see
Just
those people who are like, well, they aren't a good match right then and there. I can tell.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's so important to be able to work with people who are ready to take action. Over 8,000. So you're exclusive, but you've still managed to reach incredible transformations,
Well, I
people's
used to do it.
lives.
Right, but I did it a different way. I was like everyone else. I had everybody, I think I had like 70 people in one course, and then I started going, okay, it's time to cut bait, right? They're either going to go up or they're going to go out, and that's okay,
Yeah.
because I'm changing the way that my practice is going to be ran, primarily just for self-serving, because I already did the hustle. I don't want to do it a second time,
Yes. You know, I
and
call it instead of lazy, I call it being efficient and effective.
I know. It's more efficient, but it's okay for me to say that because I'm
Yeah.
not. I know I'm not lazy, but sometimes it's just like you said. It's more efficient to be able to serve.
Yeah.
I'm happy right now serving a lesser number of people at a
Yeah.
very, very high level, and
Yeah.
they're getting results as a
Yeah.
result of that, and
Well,
that feeds my soul, and that's what I want. I've had my days of having running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And the older I get, I don't want to sit in front of the computer all day
right.
having these meetings and things. It
Yeah.
used to be once a week I would have a call through free conference call, and all these 70 people would get on a call, and they would just ask questions, and we'd all just be on a call, and they'd be taking notes. We don't see each other, and I can walk around in the grass, and or well, wish I could, because I live in Virginia. Sometimes I can't walk out, it's too cold. But walk out in the grass and kind of get that. But nobody wants to do that anymore. They want to
Yeah.
all get on a Zoom call, and yet we all are like, we have another Zoom call. And
Yes.
I've said, do you want something different? And they're like, no, we still want to. Okay. But then, it's just a double-edged sword for everybody.
It's true. It's a
I'm
gift and a
just,
curse. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm
Um,
trying to limit it because, I have 4 businesses. So it's not, this is just one. And I still have to have the others running, and I need that. I
yeah.
like freedom. So
Uh,
yeah.
as we start to wrap up here, what do you think is one of the best shifts you could give us to really lean into? You've given us so much gold here.
Thank you.
But if you had one thing you'd share with us to be unleashed and unstoppable, what would that be?
You're probably going to laugh at this, okay? Because it's a tactic.
Okay.
But this is a tactic that I use every single day. And when I don't use it, my day falls apart every
Okay.
single day.
Okay.
So, what if you just made one small change in your daily routine, just one that would save you 15 hours a week?
Wow. Okay.
15 hours a week, because I only work 4 days and I don't work all of them. And I have 4 businesses. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
you won't have to spend extra money. You don't have to hire somebody to do any of this. And if you do this one thing, it could change your day, it could change your business, and it could change your life. And when you learn this one thing, again, it will give you back 15 days of or 15 hours of your week. So here's the one thing. Are you ready? Don't check email
Oh,
until
okay.
11 or noon.
Okay.
That's it. Do not check it. You are not obligated. You don't have a contract anywhere that says that you have to respond to every single email that comes in within 2 minutes, within
Yeah.
whatever. Do not look at email. It's amazing. If you use that
Wow.
morning to focus on what's best for you
Wow.
and your business. So whether it's working out, whether it's meditating, whether it's doing volunteer work, whether it's spending time with your children or your spouse or your grandkids for me, right? Or dancing. I might go dancing. Um, but I focus, if you want to focus on business, it's I'm going to do the thing that's going to move the needle uninterrupted. So the
Yeah.
email doesn't even get open. My Outlook doesn't even get open.
Yeah.
So if they need me that bad, they can text me and I
Mm.
might look at it. And if they need me that bad, they can call me
Yeah.
and I might
Yeah.
answer it, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing that says that I have to do it. And I learned this a long time ago from my dad. You know, when the phone used to ring when it was attached to the wall or sitting on the dresser,
Yeah.
I go,
With
Dad, the
those
phone's
super
ringing.
long cord.
Oh yeah, and wrapped around and talking, and my dad, I'd say, Daddy, the phone's ringing, the phone's ringing. He's like, uh-huh. It doesn't mean I have to answer it. Right. And I just learned that from him. I'm telling you this one thing. Guess what? You will get through because I have a 0 email rule at the end
Mm.
of the day. No emails. Now I may have things that I'm going to follow through with tomorrow that require more time, but
Yeah.
0 in the box.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I find that I get through all my emails in about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
As soon as you
Powerful.
start looking at emails, all you're going to do all day is look at emails. So if I send something to you, Carol, you're going to respond to me with thank you. And I'm going to go, you're welcome. And then I'm going to do that to 75 different people.
Yeah.
And if I don't look at those emails and I do what I need to do for my business or myself,
Mhm.
and then I look at those emails midday, I don't get a response because they're knee deep in their emails
Yeah.
until the next day.
You're right.
So I am managing people from a distance. And you even said it today. I guess you didn't get my email. Well, I didn't get your email,
Yeah.
but like I don't look at emails. And I figure,
Yeah.
hey, if I don't respond there, they'll text and then I'll probably catch it. But simplest thing, and you'll get 15 hours back every single week.
I
And
love
you know
that.
what? Your business will go forward.
And that is a beautiful velvet hammer move.
Yeah,
That is like
it is.
perfect.
Just try it. Just try it one day. Just give it a shot.
Yeah.
Don't turn around and go, hey, life goes on without emails. What was I wanting to do today for my business
Yeah.
instead of
This is
never
really
do it?
powerful. And I needed to hear this today. So, uh,
Good. Good.
exactly what
Good.
I know will help each of you out there listening with me because it's so powerful, right? And I think I've used that word 400 times. I love that word.
It's okay. It's
Because
okay.
I think of things in terms of collective, collaborative, and beautiful power doing beneficial things in the world.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
Well,
It's
thank you
been
for having me here, Carol. What a pleasure. What a
thank you.
pleasure. Yeah.
And I know we'll be talking again very soon. But
Absolutely.
all right,
Absolutely will. Thank you.
until next time, ciao for now.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unleashed Unstoppable podcast with your hosts, Alexandra Carter and Carol Register.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media or leave a rating and review and subscribe.
That's all for this episode, Wildly Ambitious Leaders. See you next week.